Good morning, Com 3430. Dr. Mueller here. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Weather's getting better here in Boone. I don't know how you're doing and where your locations are, but temperatures are coming up. More people moving around on foot outside. The Sanford Mall area, that big grassy courtyard in our campus was just packed last night with volleyball games and frisbees, and I'm sure you agree it's always nice to get that feeling of spring coming into our lifestyles. Comments went through the Hot Shots Talent Agency first case study. I think well done for the first study, but again, I tried to make fairly extensive points to each student. The big play in this, you know this now, and I told you, the big play is what you know and what you don't know. And I'm sure you can look at this stepping back from a both practical and ethical sense as an advertising leader. When this thing hits your desk and you understand what you have to do to make the right ethical decisions, I'm sure we can agree now more than ever in this day of fake news and AI news and really, let's be honest, anything out there on, the internet, digitally, social media, we really can't trust it till we validate or verify it, correct? So from the start, you're the leader in this thing. And remember, think of this. How many times in our lives, it probably has happened to you, it sure happened to me, how often has someone gossiped about you and said something that was not true? Okay, and we can imagine, and we know, in a celebrity lifestyle like Tiffany Temptress, it's times 1,000, right? Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's trying to, drop something on the person. So we know. But anyway, ethically, you can see the setup. Tiffany had a controversial past. There's been a lot of past activities, and I give you examples of those in the case. But now all of a sudden, we wake up and it's hit the news. It's reported. And this is something difficult in this case. And please remember this. You've got to verify, right? And remember, Ronald Reagan, years ago, when he was in some of his negotiations with Russia, said, trust but verify. Trust. So that's like, well, let's try to trust each other, but always verify what's happening. So again, the big play in the case first is you have to find out the truth. Okay, so many of you, made your action plan and, communicating with Tiffany was second, third, fourth. Some of you even had communicating with Tiffany Temptress last. And of course, we've got to try to get to her first. So in the case, again, what do we know and what do we not know? We don't know the actual facts on the case. And I've said to many of you, the first would be communicating with Tiffany, get her rendition, her version of what happened. Was she there? Was there even an accident? Was she at the scene? If she was at the scene, was she driving? Was her Turbomatic auto even involved? We don't know. So I think the big lesson, the big takeaway in case analysis is always operate within the parameters of what you have. If you don't have what you need to make the proper ethical decisions, you must stop and then demonstrate what those steps would be in the case. Okay? So I mentioned to many of you, this would really play out as an A or B scenario, right? You go into the case and you say A, you don't know going forward, but A would be, and some of you reflected on this in your conversation you would have with Tiffany. She admits it. So scenario A would be, yes, the accident happened as reported. And then you can go through the steps many of you did, right? You've got to take action. There's a breach of contract with Turbomatic. Gary Get It Done was right, even though I'll speak in a minute. He's highly reactive and was unethical in his initial decision. Okay, so you think about all the characters in the case, but first you've got to go A or B. B scenario is something other than the accident as reported. Could she was at the scene, but guess what? She didn't do anything illegal. I mentioned to some of you, were there hospital or police reports? You don't know. Big one, were any criminal charges filed, right? If she was driving, there's an accident, drugs and alcohol on the scene. Again, she would have been tested at the site most likely, or she refuses. The point is, you've got to find out, are criminal charges pending or filed? This would all be things that happen outside the purview of the case, but you couldn't move forward on taking action against Tiffany until you know what? The truth, right? We live in this postmodernist society. We don't know the truth at all times, but as an ethical leader, you've got to know your truth about what you believe is happening with Tiffany, the facts of that before you move forward. Okay. Now, from there, you know there was an ethical breach with each of the characters. Again, Gary Get It Done, way too reactive, saying, let's shut off all her personal appearances in commercials right now. Let's shut it off. Think of this, and I mentioned to many of you, if Tiffany isn't illegally involved or maybe wasn't an accident, whatever that is, anything less than her being at fault in what was reported, you can expect a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Hot Shots Agency and Gary and you because you forced a restraint of trade against Tiffany when she did not do anything wrong. Let's say she wasn't in breach and Gary Get It Done demands those immediate actions. Again, there's going to be big trouble coming, okay? Because she didn't do it. Again, A, B scenario. So you're thinking through this case. But anyway, relevance is, this is the difficult, because I said to you, you know, some of you needed to modify and revise your graphics. But inside the agency, you know, what happens is Gary Get It Done's the senior executive. You as the protagonist in this case report to Gary. And then under you are the two other employees, Sally and Phil. Now, some have argued in this case, and I wrote this case, so some have argued, well, Sally was independent, or Sally might have been working, you know, under some kind of contract for Tiffany. If you wrote that, that's fine. But the way I intended it, you know, that would be Sally and Phil are employees reporting to you, so there's a hierarchy. Now, you can understand ethically, and this is a realistic simulation, it's a lot harder to go and challenge the ethical actions of someone you report to, your boss, your superior, let's be honest, than it is having that discussion with people whom report to you. Okay, so lots of things going on here, dynamics, and I wanted to, that should be reflected in the type of narrative you would have. Now, again, you want to be ethical, and so the truth is always the truth. But, you would have to stand up against, and this will go, and we'll talk much more near the end of the course about dignity. What is your worth and value? What do you believe is right and true? And then how do you elicit that to others, even those you might report to? Okay, so we've got Gary reactively saying, shut it down. We've got to do that ethically. Sally, sell a lot. What is her thing? Any news is good news. Let's go with it. Man, we're getting millions of hits on this thing. What is the ethical value of again, the character you're trying to depict? The individual you're trying to be, have associated with Turbomatic, right? So Sally is out there. And again, isn't that the social media world we live in? Let's just get the clicks. Let's get the reaction pieces. Let's get the, the polarization. She's going, anything's good. Let's just get the traffic and the hits. You've got to talk to Sally about, again, character and virtue. By the way, many of you did well at bringing in some of the ethical foundational authors and sources that would be needed to make these type of decisions. Many of you did well at that. Okay? So you're talking to him, and then Phil, Phil is taking some personal issues from the past and projecting that into the future, right? Let's get rid of Tiffany. She's never been any good. She didn't treat me well when we were here for the photo shoot. You've got to isolate anything with Tiffany in the past during the ethical actions of the moment, right? So this is the training in this case is, we've got different types of ethical issues for the characters, okay? And then, of course, over here at Turbomatic, the big thing there is, Hillary Hardhandle is just, she's tough. She's not happy. But you've got to get the facts and the truth. Many of you said your first call was back to Hardhandle. Well, listen, until you know the facts and truth about that accident, you really can't be making decisions or conferring with Hardhandle because you've got to bring the truth. As an ethical leader, that's your job, is to bring the truth and all the facts into the decision making, right? And believe me, I've been here. And someday in this course, I'll tell you a little bit of some of the ethical things that I've gotten into. You're forced to comply quickly. Remember, this is under a tremendous time constraint. The system will tell you to react. It'd be real easy to jump in between Hillary and Gary Get It Done and just start, throwing edicts at Tiffany, shutting her off. We don't know yet. We don't know if there's been a breach in the contract. Okay. So again, that's tough, but that's ethical leadership in advertising, right? You've got to get that done. Okay, so you got all these dynamics, you've got these different approaches. Some of you did well, some of you wrote some really nice extensive narratives. Again, I kept the word count on this at 1,500. That had been sort of the core standard for our WID writing. I'm going this philosophy is less is better. Many of you went way more. Some of you wrote double. They're good. Have at it. Because, this is for you. This is your process to understand and simulate, what do I do as an ethical leader? This is the real world. By the way, the cases in this case, the case studies in this course are pseudo real to me. I've sort of taken pieces and parts of things that have happened to me, and they're in the case. The next case is more complex. But again, I think I like the next case because it takes us to a place we don't talk about. I don't believe enough in the advertising major, and that is retail promotion and marketing. Okay, so all of this is about, what does it come down to? It comes down to people and good decisions and truth. And many times, again, you have to be that clear mind in the moment. And that's why I said in the practicality of it, what's the action plan and timeline? Because you don't have much time, right? This thing, what do we know? It's been reported by one media source. And then, isn't this realistic? Dozens of other media agencies are picking this thing up and running with it because it's great clickbait. Tiffany Temptress crashed her car, drugs and alcohol, great clickbait. So this thing, as I use the word, proliferating all over the place. And, it's basically happened overnight into the morning. Okay. So there's so much here, to think about what's going on, what has to happen. But again, first attempt, pretty good. But again, always, thinking back again, I tried to give you as many hints as I could. Really, what is truth? What is truth? And what is your character, your personal ethical character to be a true leader in these situations? Okay. And many times I think, that is, sometimes in business, people want to be real tough, right? They want to make the hard call. They want to come in hard. They want to come in. You might have to be the voice of grace, the character of the person with compassion. That can happen too. And there's power in that in leadership. But I'll tell you again, in all this, I'm not making up a fairy tale here. There's risk in all of this. There's career risks. There's things I've said and done, and I'll tell you about some of those. I still regret to this day, maybe I didn't have the proper ethical perspective that I'm doing my best to give you. Okay? So think about that and how things work together and how you should be in your life, in your business, and how you want to be a great leader. And then in this course, writing in the discipline, how do you elicit and present that in good written form? Okay. So that's it. A little wrap up on that case. Again, lots to learn in case study management. Lots to think about. But again, always start with what is truth. And again, a lot of these cases, and I said it again, what do you know and what don't you know? There's things in cases you'll say, I do not have everything I need to move forward on decision making. Then you have to represent in the case what would have to happen going forward. Okay. But again, maybe human nature or whatever, but many times students just jump in full ahead and start taking actions and discipline Tiffany, etc., based on what? A media report that hit overnight. Okay, so think about that. That's good thinking, good planning, good preparation. We've got some things going on in the course, and I wanted to catch you up real quick because we got spring break coming up. Okay, so what we have is ethical practices in pricing. That's due this coming Tuesday, March 4. Okay, that's important. And again, I give you that healthcare.gov thing, and in my opinion, IMO, and by the way, there's been different iterations of that commercial over the years. I still think they're presenting, and again, you run your own numbers and tell me what you get. for you and your side of it, but every time, every student I've ever had run the numbers, they sure don't come up anywhere near what is being presented in those commercials. Okay. And so think about that. What's ethical, what's practical, and what makes sense as you represent your brand or product or service. Okay, so we got that coming in, ethical practices and pricing, Tuesday, March 4 at 9 a.m. Then, if you notice under the, under the spring break block, well, here's what's going on. Course reflection. This is the next assignment, but notice here, that is not due till Tuesday, March 18. Okay, that comes in after spring break. We're gonna jump past spring break, so enjoy that. Okay, I plan to enjoy spring break. I hope you do too, from our work life and academics and assignments. Okay, so jump forward on that. But after ethical practices and pricing, we have this course reflection social media post. Okay, look, I am a big advocate of LinkedIn. I think, and again, I'm not a big proponent of LinkedIn and saying it's good. There's things about LinkedIn I don't like. But for a student building your brand and trying to create better career opportunities, I think LinkedIn right now is the place to be. Now, many times students tell me, what do I put in my portfolio? And they're so concerned about a portfolio. I'm saying if you build a good stream of WID quality writing, intellectual reflections, again, always on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying once, constant, always a stream. Okay. Always reflecting from a student's point of view, that you are a student learning in a specific course. Virtually impossible to be attacked or criticized by anyone when you go on LinkedIn and saying you're a student trying to learn and better yourself. That's always, in my mind, IMO, the proper, appropriate framing the post on LinkedIn. But after that, after you declare yourself a student in learning, you have a lot of really important things to say based on your learning outcomes in this course, for example. Okay, so what I want to do in this assignment, and again, this is not mandatory. All you need to do is turn in these mock-ups of these posts, but I would highly recommend you start parsing these out. And don't just drop 5 on the same day. If you get this done, post one, then maybe a week later or 4 or 5 days later, post another. Build a stream of intellect and knowledge on your Facebook page. Your LinkedIn page, okay? So in the assignment, we're going to write about the assignments we've had. Postmodernism and ethical truth, first assignment. AI and ethical implementation, right? AI and ethical implementation was another assignment. Culture and race in advertising was another assignment. Social activism in advertising was another assignment. And ethical parameters for pricing in advertising was another assignment. You had 5 of those assignments, okay? So I just made it simple. 300 words for each equals 5 different topics equals 1,500 words, the same number for other assignments. Draft up 5 very well written. Again, this is your brand. This is about you writing about your accomplishments and your learning. And again, frame this as someone making a modern contribution, a contemporary contribution to the advertising industry. Okay, what are you showing that you are the new powerful, new ethical leaders? And that is true, by the way. It's not me. I'm here sort of coaching you, and you know why this matters so much to me, why I take this so seriously? Because you are the future leaders. You're the future leaders. You're coming up. You're going to have to take this whole thing over. You've got to run it. You've got to say what the best decisions are. You have to treat people like you believe they should be ethically treated. Okay, so write about this. Have passion. Use your WID skills. We've been writing in the discipline. Use those skills to write well. And draft up 300 words on each of the 5 topics. And we'll put that in the forum. And again, that's coming up due on March 18. Okay, so there you have it. Took you sort of through, a bit of review on your assignment with the case study, and took you through a little refresher on everything we've covered in the course. Maybe a little pep talk or rally about all your accomplishments, WID. And now my recommendation for this assignment that you draft 5 really pertinent, appealing, compelling LinkedIn posts. And then again, have at it. Again, that's the assignment. And again, it's up to you. And again, I've realized in the past and I've learned over time, some people don't want to be on social media and there's reasons for it. I respect that. But for those of you who would like to get on LinkedIn, if you haven't, get your profile going, build it up. I used to have assignments actually, or, sort of worked on building your profile, but there was such a diversity in how people wanted to represent themselves. I don't do that. If any of you want to talk more about that, we could do that in the future. Send me an email. But for right now, mock up these 5 very important representations of your learning outcome in the first half of the course so that you have the opportunity to start posting those and build that brand identity. One last thing and I'll close. Yesterday I went to Walmart here in Boone, very pleased. I walked in. Thank the Lord, our produce section was open again. Our Boone got flooded. It was full of 3 feet of water. It was destroyed. And I did a post on this. I took a picture of the nice, clean, new produce section, and I like to talk to people. And I go in early in the morning, like 7 a.m. or so, and I always like to take a moment and stop and chat with the store workers. Like this, in this case, people were stocking the produce section. Show them a little respect. Honor those individuals as valuable. So I pulled this one man aside who was stocking produce and said, I want to thank you. I want to thank Walmart for getting this reopened. It was, many of us, we don't have a lot in Boone for shopping, not too many choices. I said, I know it's been a long time. Thank you. And this guy really engaged with me and was telling me about the work. He put all the credit back on the restoration experts who came in. He mentioned one man who came in 3 days after the flood and has been in that building every day to now. He told me that wasn't scheduled to reopen until April, but based on the public and the consumer demand, they accelerated the whole thing and got it open, sort of late February, a month ahead. He reminded me the whole interior was gutted. All that was left was the shell. I'm sharing this. And then the guy told me and made sure I knew. He said, I never missed a paycheck. I never missed my paycheck from Walmart during the shutdown. And I thought, here's a man with a family staying in survival mode because Walmart paid those paychecks. They made the payroll through the shutdown. And I wrote about this, and then I walked down the aisles. It's very quiet. And, there's people standing, waiting by the checkout lines. And one woman said to me, hey, how are you today, honey? And I said, ma'am, I'm very well. And I hope you have a great day. And I posted that, and I said, how great that we can just care about others and love other people and whatever. So I made this post, and I'm up to almost 3,000 views, a lot of shares, a lot of comments. Can you see about just taking a little slice of life, and in this case, it's your student learning outcomes, how powerful that can be? People care. They want to know. They want good news. They want to know people like yourself in this top program at Appalachian State are getting ahead with big learning outcomes. They want to be convinced that there's great future leaders coming. Let's be honest, there's a lot of hopelessness in the world right now, a lot of fear. And people think, they like to be comforted knowing here's somebody doing good work. And guess what? In the ethical sense, they're doing good work. So why shouldn't we celebrate and share that on LinkedIn? Okay? That's my little sell job on that for today, because I believe that can be very good for you. And again, I was talking to Career Center the other day, and they told me there's two types of professors. Some are very focused on the course content, and they want to deliver that and assess you for it, and that's it. And then they said there's others that really understand and want to be more comprehensive in a career sense. Well, that's me. I had a long career before academics. I've owned agencies. I've been in the sports business. I've worked at big ad agencies. I've done a lot of stuff in the business. So I know what it is. And again, some of it you'll say, well, that's dated a long time ago. Maybe, but the human aspects of this business have not changed. And that's where you will come in and be successful and powerful because you're applying yourself through a course like, COM 3430, ethical practices in advertising. Okay. That's it. I've got to go teach some classes, but I wanted to get this out to you today. Thanks for the work. always enjoy working together with you in addressing these important topics. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.